Optimus Prime's voice acting was so good that I was actively impressed with his voice actor at multiple points during the movie. Megatron's voice acting was so good that at no point in the movie did I actually consider that he had a voice actor. That was just Megatron. Hello, my wonderful viewers, and welcome to another episode of Betty Adams Overanalyzes. Today we are going to be taking a spoiler-free look at Transformers 1, the movie. If you don't want any of those spoilers, you can avoid all that by clicking the links at the bottom of the video to get yourself a copy of one of my science fantasy books. Dragons, aliens, and things that go boom in the night. Flying sparks, 90,000 words of science fantasy adventure. Now, the spoiler-free section. Let's not bury the lead. Did I like the movie? Heck yeah! Do I recommend this movie? Absolutely. Go watch it now and bring any children who you judge to be emotionally mature enough to watch Artax sink into the swamp. It was a good movie. Worth watching now, and it will absolutely stand the test of time. So, was it a great movie? Look, the point is, I enjoyed this movie, and you should go watch it on the biggest screen you can manage. The first thing, and possibly the best thing I can say about this movie, is that it kept me hooked for the entire hour and 44 minutes of bright flashing lights and intense emotions of the runtime. At no point did I have the urge to stop watching the movie, at no point did it drag, and the runtime felt way shorter than it was. This was, if nothing else, an entertaining movie. Entertaining enough to overcome my short movie attention span and my irritation with bright flashing lights. Was the movie perfect of its kind? Was it a really great movie? Well, don't bury that lead either. No. This movie suffered from what I'm going to call a critical lack of sincerity, and this movie it demanded sincerity. It was the kind of movie that just does not deal well with flippant Marvel-style humor. Think Lord of the Rings, the Jackson version, the one where the broken-hearted Aragorn bends to tenderly kiss the fallen and redeemed Boromir, pledging to take up Boromir's place as the protector of the people of Gondor. There was humor in that movie, fool of a toque, but not once was the humor used to undercut the heroism, the virtue, the genuine sincerity of the story. In the decades since the Lord of the Rings movies, Hollywood has drifted more and more towards a constant state of slapstick comedy, which individually is fine. If that is the kind of movie you're making, if you want a Bill and Ted's Most Excellent Adventure type movie, where every heroic deed must be undercut with a crude or flippant joke, go for it. But Transformers 1, the story behind it was not meant to be, should not have been that kind of movie. It is a tragedy of epic proportions. Yes, the good guys win in the end, sort of, but at what cost? And yet, that influence of flippant, constant humor is there, woven throughout the story. It is thankfully not a main element. In fact, you get the idea that the writers, the directors, were fighting it tooth and nail the entire movie. Not like it was being forced on them from the outside, but that it had become such a part of their creative process that even when they were actively choosing not to insert it into the movie, they couldn't help themselves, to the point that the flippancy seems more of an infection in an otherwise sincere body of work, but it's still there, stealing something ephemeral but critical to the story. In fact, I think this forced flippant humor might be the cause of the other main issue in the movie. The movie felt rushed. The movie felt too short. Too much happened too fast. At least, it felt that way. Had the story had less of that flippant humor, had more of the sense of good mechs making hard decisions, and weak mechs being corrupted by power and greed, had that been allowed to breathe a bit more, to linger in the emotional palate of the audience, I don't think that feeling of being rushed would have been nearly as noticeable. Mind, it still would have been there. This could easily have been 2 hour-and-a-half-long movies, but I can see why the creators were told to ruthlessly cut it down to 1. With the current cultural disgust in the market for one movie being stretched into multiple, looking at you, Hobbit, it would have been a bad gamble to make this duology it really needed to be. Still, with all that said, this movie works in no small part because you can tell that everyone wanted to be here. They knew the lore. They loved the lore. They were completely unashamed of the lore, of where they came from. And they were doing the very best that they could. As I said, in The Hook, the voice acting was good. It seems an odd thing to say for what it is. Let us not delude ourselves nor forget our roots. A 2-hour toy commercial. But this movie, being that, gave Chris Hemsworth a chance to shine as a serious dramatic actor for once. Sure, Orion Pax was a bit quippy and flippant to start out with, following the usual Chris Hemsworth routine. But as he slowly transformed into a leader worthy of the matrix of leadership, Hemsworth was able to rein that flippancy in and pull off some serious Peter Cullen level acting. To summarize, I had good thoughts about Optimus Prime's voice actor because the voice actor did a good job. Now, Megatron. Megatron's voice actor did such a good job embodying every step along the character journey that, except for one little flicker, because I was already thinking about Optimus's voice actor, I never once thought of Megatron as having a voice actor. That was only the character Megatron on the scene, and that is good acting. When you forget the human personality bringing the character to life, we are talking Jim Henson trained levels of whoops, the sound crew accidentally wired Kermit the Frog puppet for sound instead of the puppeteer because the human was embodying the character so well. Brian Henry, I had to go look up his name, but Brian, my man, you did a truly great work bringing Megatron to life, and I salute you. And equal weight given to the teams who wrote, designed, and brought to life Cybertron itself. From the depths of the planet to the vibrant sublevels to the surface, Cybertron is a living character that brings depths to the story, while homaging and honoring the past. You remember the opening scenes from the original 84 Transformers? That gets a nod in the design of Cybertron. And it really works. This is without taking anything away from the current story. This is a world that feels lived in. It feels real. When a mech steps off stage, you get the feeling that they keep going, that their story continues to play out with the rest of the Cybertronians. Part of this is the social world building that goes on in the individual's character developments. From Elita 1 to Bumblebee to Megatron himself, the situations they find themselves in offer the perfect explanations for their behavior. Each individual person, alien robots that they are being driven by perfectly understandable motivations. The need for food, for a place to live, for friendship and general socialization. These elements are all shown as hunger, as insecurity, as loneliness, as understandable motivations for the characters. So that when someone goes off screen, those needs don't just disappear with them. They'll still be needing their inner John and a place in the world around them. So their story goes on off screen, and the movie makes you feel that. The characters are not just props, they're people. Which, given the themes of the movie, was something that it was very important for the writers to get right. Then there were all the playful little nods to canon and fanon elements of, let's call it the extended universe of Transformers lore. When a franchise that only had three seasons to begin with has 40 years of comics and cartoons and novels to draw from, you get a lot of things that are downright contradictory from one series to the next. Say, for instance, 2007's Transformers Animated versus any other version. And that is just talking actual canon. Then on top of that, you have the messy network of fanon that often spirals off into, well, you know the internet rules as well, if not better than I do. Many old franchises movies have the problem of being visibly ashamed of their canon roots and their fanon branches. Looking at you, Power Rangers. This movie did not have that problem at all. Transformer 1 knows exactly where it came from and has no shame. Seriously, no shame at all, to the point where maybe a little shame might have been useful. There were subtle and friendly nods to elements from the comic, such as the very, very grimdark, I'm going to try to pronounce this correctly, Impurata? Anyway, but it was like just kind of, given even how dark that was, it was a genial, hey, we're not going there, we're not going that grim dark in this movie, but we recognize that as a possibility, we know you love it, so we're just going to give you a little Easter egg nod here. Then there was, and hey, maybe it was just me and my dark and twisted mind that saw it, but a friendly nod to the more, let's say, adult elements that often show up in the relationship dynamics between certain characters in fanfiction. Again, it was just the briefest of nod, but yes, harder is hardly something you expect to see in a kid's show, in any form. Ah, yes, a kid's show. A kids' show based on an 80s franchise. That is what Transformers 1 was advertised as, and some people have criticized the advertising as dishonest, and yet the fact of what it is, a kids-based 80s show, really should have been more of a warning than we took it for. My friends, let us travel back to the kids' movie franchises of the 80s. Let's start over with The Never-Ending Story and Artax, the beloved horse companion, slowly drowning in the swamp of depression, or whatever it was. The Secret of Nim. Do you remember everything that happened in The Secret of Nim? Fern Gully. The things in Fern Gully. The Black Cauldron. All Dogs Go to Heaven. Fantasia. Well, you get the idea. Now, round all of that off with what happened in the original 86 Transformers movie. Yeah, we really should not have been so shocked by what happened in Transformers 1. I kind of think I might be getting soft in my old age. Now, on to the story itself, the overarching plot. It was a good, solid, well-written, creatively enough, while it stayed solidly within acceptable canon. It had some fun, if predictable, plot twists, and I do mean well-done plot twists. Things that were set up well beforehand and made logical sense, but because of the sleight of the hand of the story, took you by surprise, but made perfectly logical sense in retrospect. In my humble opinion, Transformers 1 works because everyone in it brought their A-game. The writers, the directors, the producers, the actors, the animators. As much as I wish the flippant humor had been toned down, the movie is what it is, and you should go watch it. But if you have watched it, what do you think, my wonderful viewers? Would it have benefited from leaning more into the serious tone? Tell me what you think in the comments below. It fills me with joy to hear your thoughts. Hit that like and subscribe button, and peace out, my wonderful viewers.
Step into a world of science and of story, of laughter and of tears. Betty Adams has crafted entire worlds of science fiction and science fantasy adventure in her Humans Are Weird series and in her Dying Embers series. Be prepared to laugh, cry, and become absorbed. Check out her books at the links below the video.